We're live. Episode 23, I believe. I'm getting up there. It's cool.
Getting
I
up
think
there, yeah. No, it's
this last week.
routine.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
did miss last week, but it was Thanksgiving, so
yeah,
happy
totally.
Thanksgiving, belated Thanksgiving to all our regular users.
All of our regular listeners. Well, for everybody watching Creative Flux for the first time, I'm Pierson. This is
I'm
Bilal.
Bilal. Nice to.
And we just talk about generative media and AI. Sometimes more AI, sometimes more generative media, sometimes other things like we get on off topic on, but it's always fun. And this week there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we got Runway, Gen 4.5, we got all this Google news, we got the code red from OpenAI. Where do you want to
Oh
start?
yeah. Let's start with video because there's been
Okay,
a couple of cool video models. I think
let's do it.
it's good to lead with that. So I think, and it's kind of annoying, and I think that it was very hypey because everyone starts wake posting around over the weekend about next week. Everything changes. Everything changes. As always, the video world is just gonna be a new paradigm. Blah blah blah. And then Monday, what happened was there was a model called Whisper Turbo or Whisper Garden or some name, code word on Code Arena, which is this leaderboard where a lot of these companies will put their API anonymously just to get feedback on how good it is before they actually publicly announce their model. And this model was ranking number one. It had beaten Google's Veo 3.1. And so everyone was like, oh, is it the new Veo? Is it Runway? Kling, whatever. Turned out to be Runway. Runway released their 4.5 model, which, really good, amazing. Did it change everything? No. Which is why I was like, it's all, I hate this hype wave posting, but really cool, like amazing cinematic, scenes. Like Runway, you can say is kind of like the mid journey of video. So they really lean on the aesthetics and stuff. And so you can create amazing storytelling. For
Right.
developers like me, I'm not as excited about Runway just because I don't want to pay like $5 a minute over video and I want an API, which they don't have. So this
Right.
was cool out there. But the second model, which I was more excited for, was Kling. And Kling released their Omni model. An Omni model, basically, they have a regular line of model, which they also released. So they released Kling V2.6, which was an minor upgrade on 2.5. So much better there. But the Omni model is supposed to be combined like editability and generation. So, and I haven't gotten a chance to play with it yet. Like I'm going to do it over the weekend, but they're kind of calling it the Nano Banana for video, which we'll see if that stands to be true because Nano Banana, we talked about it last episode, is really good. But you can get really granular edits to your video using O1,
Right.
which is the Omni model short form.
It's super interesting on video editing. We haven't seen a lot of video editing models, and I think the
Yes.
spatial awareness. So, we'll tie this back together. I want to deep dive into both Runway and Kling a little bit more in depth before we break off. But one of the key things that video editing models need is spatial awareness. In images, you have a 2D projection of some environment onto an image. It's 2D. There's no motion of an image. And so it's much more easy. Oh, you see a tree in the background, you select that tree, you edit that tree, you add apples to it, you remove the tree because it's just like a 2D thing.
Right.
However, in video, when you have 3D, it's now the tree where it lives over time. If the camera's panning or the actor is moving, those apples need to move with that tree and stay consistent. So the spatial awareness is key. But this is why I think it's a data question. And so when we get over to world models and we have like YouTube data and all this like really spatially aware information, I could see VO4 being like Nano Banana for video, where it's just like amazing because they have the best image editing model.
Right.
Why could they not have the best video editing model
and
too?
like you said, they have the data. The YouTube data is going to be key for that because it has all these like training data points about like what happens when an apple falls versus a mug falls, which shatters or whatever, right?
Right.
So these cues, but to all the other labs who are doing this, to their credit, they're getting better at this too. So I saw a couple of examples of one where some guy put like one of the examples was you put someone in an image. So there was a image of a character in a bathroom and she's washing her face and she looks up and there's like another guy that appears, but it's in the reflection. And so all these subtle like, oh, the reflection has to be like, different than the actual image you pan to the person, but a reflection looks slightly different. The model was getting those subtle things right, which, is I guess, part of just collecting the better data and making sure the training is when you train the model, you're actually understanding the physics world, as you're saying, behind it.
Totally.
So yeah,
That's super
really interesting
interesting.
stuff.
And you know what sucks is that they named this. I mean, oh, why would you go name O1? When you said O1, I'm like, wait, I was just got
Yeah.
confused. Like that was like OpenAI's thing, you know?
Yeah, it's weird. One, I think they call it Omni, which
Right,
I think they were trying to call it like some sort of a consolidated model, like
right.
one model to rule them all. Which is weird because they also have the standard image to video and text to video model, but they have this other ability which I like is reference to video, and reference to video is different than image to video. And image to video
Okay.
is like you start with like you take a frame and then that's your start frame, and then you generate a 5 to 10 second video from that.
Mm.
Reference to video gives you more flexibility. You just take let's say, an image of me or you, and you say, I want the character walking through the garden, but the first shot is actually you start from the tree and then you zoom out and you see the path and then the character appears. So you can
Ah,
do more stuff with it, right? The character doesn't necessarily need to be in the first frame.
right.
So I like the concept of reference to video a lot more. And I imagine we've talked about the UX behind how you build, let's say, a 30-minute video. I think what you're going to, one way I've thought about it is like you're just going to have these character scenes. So you're going to have, maybe you take shots of a character. You have a frontal face, side face, almost like a police, shot, like a 3D scanish type of a bunch of photos of the character from every angle. And then maybe the scene, maybe Hogwarts, right? This is the door, this is the scene. So you have all these like shots of the scenes, and then you can feed it into the video model, it's almost like building the world, for the
Totally.
video model. And then you can say, oh, Harry walks into, the Hogwarts main hall, right? And you already have the scenes in there, and you can have a consistent video using these
Right.
atomic units. So I think it's pretty cool.
Well, it's very cool. And that reminds me of like the other day when we saw like the image to video game type of perspective, like
Yes.
the first
Yeah.
person POV, where you
Right.
had a character, you went to, I think it was, they took an image, they put like it as you are in the camera with a wand, and you're like have the wand, and then you're like walking around, and so it really looked like
Right.
you were playing a video game, like a Hogwarts video game or Zootopia, because Zootopia 2 just came out, and that's gonna
Right.
be really cool. I know you like Zootopia, I like Zootopia.
I
That was an
love
awesome movie,
one of the
and yeah, I mean it crushed in China too. So it's like I think it beat Avengers in terms of like the highest grossing US movie in China.
Yeah, I
So
was
that's pretty
surprised by
crazy.
that. I did not know China had such demand for Zootopia, but
But I wonder if we'll see like some stuff come out because those characters are pretty cool too. So I wonder if maybe there's something there to look into. But
like, you mean using those characters as a
yeah, I
storytelling?
don't
Like,
know. I don't know.
yeah.
It's just like the concept though of Zootopia is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where you have
Oh,
all
yeah.
the characters and like you have character creation and you have, you know,
Yeah, I think, and
fly
it's blowing up
fox.
on Sora and stuff too, right? Because you can be some guys like the sloth or,
Mm,
the badger or whatever. Like, you can like
right.
take that character and just, explore the world. Because I think lots of reasons Zootopia is amazing, but like you said, one of the reasons was the rich cast of characters. Because, it's like this whole anthropomorphic world where every kind of predator or animal is just like has their own functions and world and society, mini societies within the big society. And
Right.
obviously, I mean, the parallels are to races, in humans, but still, it's
Right.
just such a very interesting way, fun way to explore it, like a world. So,
Totally, totally.
yeah.
That's super interesting. Well, okay, so we had Zootopia that, and there's another thing that I want to touch on too before we get into stuff. There's a cool theme that at least on my Twitter was showing up is like these isomorphic renderings of cityscapes. Did you
Mm.
see these?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, was it generated by Nano Banana, or I
It was
think,
like there were some workflows that the people did. There was like Nano Banana, but then then you take those images and then you move the camera up so it looks like you have like kind of like a square block. I don't know. They looked so cool. I'll probably put them in the show. I'll try to find some and put them in the show notes. But like
yeah.
they were such cool little like snippets. You took New York City and you imagine you condensed New York City into like a little square, and it was kind of like not claymation, but it was like that soft, sort of subtly vibrant color scheme, and you had like either the Space Needle or you had the Empire State Building or the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was like this really cool thing that was going around that people were creating, and I liked them.
No, I mean, those kind of worlds are so cool, and that might be. I think I did say the post about how you can use that to kind of explore cities and stuff. It's kind of like Google Maps, but like in a fun way. You can just see like a block. Like one
Right.
of my actually one of the most famous, I think, 3D models. If you try to go play around with 3JS, which is a very the most popular 3D JavaScript library, and you look at their main page, one of the top 5, I think, video models is like this really cool mini town, Japanese town kind of aesthetic. There's a train that goes
Mm.
around a square, and then there's a
Oh well.
shop, and then and it's just so cool because it's a very small town, but not but the idea that you can like imagine, oh, people are living here and this is the train that goes from east to west or whatever, right? It's just so cool seeing
Right.
that, and it opens up, I think, the reason I think it's popular is because it opens up possibilities for people to go, wow, I can create this world for myself.
Totally. No, it is really cool. I mean, it opens up so many possibilities. It's
Mm.
sick. Okay, so we talked about Runway. So we talked about, oh, yeah, okay, so let's just dive into Runway a little bit more. Because Runway was one of the first image
Yep.
or video models out there in like 2023. I remember using Runway and like seeing Runway videos back like 2+ years ago. And it was like you are on crazy drugs. Like you look at some of those videos and it looks like these worlds are like morphing. It looks like you're on like, I don't know, it was wild. But now it's just like so nice. And so I think, so they don't have an API. And so that's your criticism of them. I think they've decided potentially to do that because it probably looks like they're working with the studios in Hollywood. And
Right. I
so,
think they're just kind of like going the mid-journey angle. They're like, we do this well. We're a premium product, and we want us, you want to use us through our UX. And actually, I think they might have an API. It's one of those where you have to contact them and partner
and pay $1 million or something.
right, something like
Yeah.
that. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, it's just respect.
Right.
They're doing their thing. They're doing amazing stuff. But
Right.
I think to your point, they're basically the choice for filmmakers and studios. And it's like kind of like the mid-journey angle where people who are actually into seriously making editing videos and stuff. Like you want to make a 30,000. You have a $30,000 budget for like a 5-minute commercial or whatever. Yeah, you're gonna whatever. You'll spend the 5-10 grand creating the shots or whatever.
Totally. Yeah. So physical accuracy, cinematic realism, all those things, I think it does really well. And talking about this, did you see this Absurd company? They were on TBPN the other day. Like it's a YC company that did a call she ad, not PJ's call she ad, but like a different call she ad.
Oh, okay.
But they were like saying that they were charging studios like $30,000 per video. It's like all AI generated and stuff. So it's like costing them nothing, but they have like the taste on how to use these models and string them together. And so they've kind of created like a services consulting company. It's called
Interesting.
Absurd. And the whole thing is like, we make AI videos. Did you watch that one? I think you had to have seen this one. It was like Founders Fund-esque, like America.
Oh, the one with the moon landing and the.
Yeah, I think they created
I
that
think
one.
I think that is the call she had, right? I mean, it was American dynamism and all that, right?
Right.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So this was like kind of cool. Like if anyone's watching this,
I
that's like
didn't know
wants
that
to
was
see.
AI. I just thought that was just. I guess yeah, there's part of it that was AI
Right.
generated, but.
I think it was inspired by the old Founders Fund thing, and then they made a new
Oh,
one. But yeah, check out absurd.com. They have like, I'm on their website right now. It has 9
that's a sick
videos.
domain to have, but yeah.
They have one that's like Mondami and Cuomo in the next.
I mean, but to your point, I mean, taste is like it's one of those last modes remaining. Some people just have that, ability
Right.
to know what resonates with an audience, and they can use these tools. So kind of
Totally.
envy that having that.
So on the other side, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, you were just talking to me about like this like artwork show
Yes.
that you
But
went to.
before
I want
jumping
you
into
to
that,
talk about.
I also
Okay.
want to touch on one. I think one thing to kind of close the loop on there is the editability, because we
Yeah.
talked about how editability, wasn't. I mean, there were other models like there's Ray 3, which is cool, kind of expensive, that would let you edit a video, but this is just taking it the next step. I think Kling is traditionally, I just think it's up there with Google in terms of how good their video is. And
Mm.
so the fact that they really focused on this model to be editable, and making editability a first class, feature means like I think it's going to open up a lot of interesting remixes. People have used Sora for remixing and stuff like that. I think we're just going to see a lot more of that, where you're going to take your favorite video, whatever, maybe you switch Tom Cruise for Denzel Washington or whatever, right? And all this like taking old no, not old, but like classic, content we grew up with and stuff, and just remixing it. It just
Totally.
opens up a whole Cambrian explosion of content. And I think some studios will fight it, but a lot of studios will just embrace it because it actually, if you take Jurassic Park and somebody makes a Studio Ghibli Jurassic Park, people are going to watch that, and then suddenly Jurassic Park is in the zeitgeist again, and then they're going to
Right.
go back and watch the original. So it actually helps the original content in a lot of ways. So I think we'll just see
Totally.
probably this being buttoned up about in terms of royalties and stuff like that, but also studios actually making it easier. At least the forward facing studios, who embrace this technology, they'll probably be like, yeah, use Mickey Mouse, whatever. And then some people may probably like the Studio Ghiblis of the world who are very focused on hand-drawn stuff, they'll probably
Right.
fight it and probably lose, in my opinion.
Well, do you know what's really interesting too? So, this was a few months ago. There was a video game company. I forget the name, but the original Mickey Mouse, the Steamboat Willie animation, entered
Right.
into the public domain after
Yeah.
75 years, right? And so it was like that classic black and white Mickey Mouse style, very different than how Mickey Mouse is portrayed today. Similar but different. But the moment it went to the public domain, they created a video game with Mickey Mouse in that like Steamboat Willie style with like a first person shooter game.
Mm.
And it was really cool because like you can't do anything about it. It's public domain now and whatever. As like that's like Steamboat Willie was like the first, IP pretty much of like the
Right.
modern era in media. But let's say like 10 years from now, even 20 years from now, when some of this IP like gets starting to get more released, like you could see this kind of, exploding where like all this old stuff that's from the, I don't know, 50s, 60s
Yeah.
starts to become available publicly for
Yes.
anybody to
No,
use.
100%. And it's funny you mentioned that because I think I just saw the article on news the other day. I think in November is when the next year's copyright public domain happens. So I think all the artwork until 1926, and
Mm,
there's some rules. So there's a 75-year rule, and there's one if when the main artist dies plus 50 years or whatever. So
mm,
depending on which it's, but majority, let's just for keeping it simplicity, anything before 1926 now is going to be entering the public domain. So it's always an opportunity whenever this happens. So I definitely recommend our users check out what's entering in the public domain because usually there's some new stuff, the interesting stuff, works being entering into public domain that you can jump on and take and do your spin on it. So with AI, it just makes it even cooler. Like, it enables you to do even more stuff. So check it out.
totally. It's gonna be super cool. And just like at the end of the day, if you could get out like Netflix spends so much money to create shows that come after week after week. Severance. There's a new show on Apple TV. There's like, you know,
Pluribus. It's pretty
yeah,
cool,
yeah,
interesting.
Pluribus. Right.
Yeah. Everyone's
But
talking
like
about it.
everyone's talking about it, I know. But if you could tell a studio like, hey, you could snap your fingers and just have more high quality content out, no studio's going to turn that down. I mean, like there becomes a like an area where it's like there's too much out there, but that we're not nowhere near. And if you could just create higher quality content that comes out more frequently, going from like a release every Friday for the whole year versus like, you have a series, you have season one, and then season two comes out the next year. Like if you could just keep that series going, if it makes sense from your story perspective, but
Mhm.
like every single studio would want to have, more high quality content that they can publish. Like
Right.
nobody would ever want to turn that down. So like if you told me there was a new Star Wars movie that came out once a month, I would watch a Star Wars movie once a month. Like as long as it's good, just
Right.
and so just like and we're entering to that future where it's like it's not going to be once a year you're going to have a new blockbuster movie. It could be once a month. It could be once a week, like The
Right.
Mandalorian or like all these things that they're putting massive budgets to. So it's sick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I also get the other side of it, because there's something about value and scarcity. It's like,
Totally.
and so when you get a Starbucks, like a Star Wars, what do you call it? Star Wars movie once,
Right.
Star Wars
For
movie
sure.
once a
Right.
month, you might be excited for the first 6 months, but then you might just it might be
Totally.
too much. And then you'd be like, I mean, I'm kind of
Oh,
getting sick
absolutely.
of Star Wars. So it'll be
Right.
interesting to see how that balance plays out too.
And that's a good problem to have, if you can just, because it's no longer limited by like the actual like limiting factor of production. It's
Right.
more becomes a business strategy decision. Like when do we release this stuff? How frequent? We still want to have that scarcity. And so it just
Yeah.
eliminates one variable in that equation and makes it much more easy to plan out,
Yes.
your
Yeah.
media strategy.
It's a classic binge versus timed release schedule. I think Arun put out this post and he was complaining about why does these old studios, they still do like release episodes once a week. This is old fashioned. We should just binge it. And my reply was like, I'm a binge watch. I love binging, but I will say this. If you want to keep a show in the zeitgeist, like if you're doing Game of Thrones episodes like 1 week at a time, you put out an episode, then people get a
Right.
chance to discuss it and then talk about, oh, what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It's like, it's annoying, but it also builds the show up. So in a way,
Totally.
you need that. It's not just a legacy stuff. So in a way, you want that artificial, let's wait and see, I'm going to give you just
100%.
a little bit tidbits stuff.
Yeah.
So
I like
we'll
once
see.
a week shows. I'm like, okay, cool. I could only spend 1 hour a week watching this thing. I'm not going to spend like
Right.
10 hours binging this thing over the weekend.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But
but
yeah, that'll
cool.
be true. Maybe in the future they put out a show and then everyone remixes it and then they try to predict like which version is the one that the true one. And so
Well, that's what Disney's doing. That's what they announced. Bob Iger announced on their earnings call is like now you're able to remix Disney characters. So
Right.
from your favorite shows, you're going to see this really quickly. Like it's going to be on your phone. It's going to be on your TV or something. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like imagine taking your Zootopia characters and just like, hey, wait, what if I forget the name of the rabbit on the bunny? But
Oh,
like, what
yeah.
if she'd made this decision at this
Right.
scene instead? Like, how would the DMV interaction work? Or like,
Yeah. Judy, I think. I don't know.
yeah, Judy. Yeah, Judy.
Yeah. But yeah,
So.
and who knows? Maybe if you make a sick edit, Disney calls you up and say, "Hey, can we buy your remix? Like, we actually think this is sick, and we want to introduce." You get promoted to canon or something like that. Would be cool.
Yeah, they're not giving you money. They're like, this is our IP. You can make
That's
whatever
fair.
you want,
But hey, at
but we're
least you
going to
get
take your
bragging
idea.
rights. You're like, I
Yeah.
made the best bunny or whatever.
100%. Well,
Nice.
okay, so cool. So there's a few,
yeah.
so one thing that we talked about in the past that I think we just want to touch on, I mean, so OpenAI, if you're following in the world, Sam Altman issued, I guess, some code red. It's like, oh, Google's catching up. I mean, no brainer. Like, it's everything that we've been talking about for the past few months. I saw your tweet the other day. Is like, all you bandwagon folks now saying Google's going to win, OpenAI is going to lose, bearish on OpenAI.
I love how they come out and say, oh, contrarian bet. I think Google might. I'm like, yeah, now it's contrarian for you. It was contrarian 6 months ago, and everyone's just like, still on the OpenAI bandwagon. People, it was pretty clear. And who knows, maybe it changes now. Whenever everyone gets on board, then I get nervous. Now I'm like, I mean, I'm a Google bull, and now I'm like, maybe I actually took some chips off the table. I was like, I don't know.
Interesting. All right. It's trading around like 300 something, I think. It's like $3.8 trillion. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I know we sometimes devolve into stock, not financial advice, but like it's crazy.
Everything
$4
is
trillion
financialized.
company. Yeah.
The Call Sheet founders just became they both became billionaires, and Luana Lopez, I think is her last name. She's one of the Call Sheet founders. She became the youngest self-made billionaire. I mean, she beat Taylor Swift by 4 years. She's 29. Just like, God, which is, I mean, prediction markets, it's kind of like late stage Roman Empire vibes, but I do think in a post AGI world, we just gamble and stuff, like that. That's just kind of what you
gamble away your universal basic income.
Yeah, kind of, because you're just bored. But I mean, whether it's good or not, I mean, we can debate about that. But it's coming. I think basically everything becomes indexed and on the exchange and something you can predict. Yeah, it kind of just makes sense in a world that's just hyper connected, and over financialized. Yeah.
I mean, you tokenize a lot of things. It'll be interesting. But yeah, so OpenAI, code red, cool.
Yeah.
Talking about Google.
Yeah, so sorry, just to kind of like what happened. Apparently there was a town hall Sam Altman did, and Google had released the Gemini 3. That actually, the reason he said it's a code red is because if you look at the charts and stuff, a couple of things. ChatGPT's MAUs they've been stuck at 800 million for a while. Suppose they were projected to get to 1 billion. They haven't.
I wish we were stuck at 800 million.
Yeah, I know. Same jelly pop, same. We're having the same problem too. 800 million is just a hard number to break,
I know it is.
So, no, but they've been stuck. They've plateaued there for a while. And the second thing is the Gemini has gained like 10% share or something, like from Gemini 3. Sorry. Yeah, just from that model release. And I actually don't think it's Gemini 3. I think it's Nano Banana. This, image models. We saw it with OpenAI with their GPT image model as well.
Right.
That's something about just creating cool imagery and editing it. It gets in the zeitgeist very fast. So I think then Nano Banana is what propelled Gemini forward. Gemini 3 obviously helps as well. So they need to respond to this. I've said before, OpenAI's moat, if you think about, is consumer, which is a very fickle moat. At the same time, they do have they're the Google of the AI space. People say, apparently young people, they say, they call chat. They say, oh, use chat. So it's like Google it, the equivalent of Google it. So they just say, I use chat. So it's a sticky product, but at the same time, I think the problem with OpenAI isn't that they don't have a good product and it's not sticky. It's the fact is they've just committed to getting to this insane revenue, and they've signed all these circle partnership deals, and they could very well end up in a hole, even though they're making a shitload of money, but just because they basically have lost $270 billion this year, and they're projecting they need to basically turn that around and make a profit by 2029. So that's kind of the VC bet. It's like a quintessential VC bet. They can't just be like, oh, we're profitable. They got to make a shit ton of money to make their investors happy.
And the other dimension too, so like, OpenAI, Johnny Ive, their consumer hardware products, whatever that is, and when it comes out, I respect Johnny. I think Johnny, the iPhone and everything, like amazing, and the work that he's done at Apple. It'll be difficult for me. I don't know. I try to, run the gamut of like what these potential features could look like. And I mean, I don't see them coming in and creating a device that blows out like Apple or Google. Like Google has Pixel. They have the Android systems. They have Waymos. I think that like if somebody's going to win consumer, it's going to be Google. Google is not an enterprise play like Microsoft Azure maybe. Like Google has Google Workspace, and we'll talk about that in a second. But like if Waymos are expanding like crazy. And like people don't like think about Waymo and like AI together. They kind of do now a little bit more because obviously it's a self-driving car. But we saw this massive expansion of Waymo this past week. Like all of California. So all of the Bay Area got approval from the DMV in NorCal, essentially, and then in SoCal, all of it from LA to San Diego got DMV approval. Full self-driving in Houston. A lot of the parts in the Pacific or in the like Southeast, like Florida, like all these places are starting to get Waymos, and Baltimore. And like, it's going to be really, really cool to see more people experiencing like this. That puts Google, like people think about Google, they think about, oh, I'm just going to Google it on the internet. No, Google's going to come into how they get around town, how they interact with the world. And so if you're in a Waymo and you have that screen there, like, oh, like, welcome, like you start talking to Gemini, like, oh, like, talk to Gemini, you have a screen, you could like do stuff like, I think that is a different consumer dimension that if you're getting around places, like you're stuck in a car. Like you're going to be forced to interact with like Gemini or whatever is going to be there. So
I agree. And this is just a consumer angle, which is why I think the B2B angle is even, as we know, I mean, B2B is just better than B2C. You just get better margins, better customer. And that's why Anthropic is in a way better position because they just focused on their API platform and they're fundamentally a B2B business. Google, we're going to touch on. I guess we won't speak too much about it, but Google released the GEMS Google Workspace launch, which basically bakes in Gemini's intelligence under the hood. So now you can, and this is how you're going to use AI going forward. You're just going to go to Gmail and be like, hey, if this, then that, but in a smart way, like, oh, if I get an email that sounds like spam, but if it's from this one company, forward it, ping me, otherwise don't bother, trash it. Like you're going to be able to create these rules. And so they released this Google Workspace update, which bakes in a lot of these features. And Microsoft will probably do the same, and I think the ecosystem will become a lot more important. To OpenAI's point, they've tried to do it with Sora. I mean, it's just hard to tap into that distribution, right? If you're not a Facebook or a Google, right, it's hard. So it's an uphill battle. And they basically are not a B2B business because these other competitors have taken that space. And it's funny, actually, I don't know if I wanted to mention, but it is really, there's an interview that Dario Amadai, the CEO of Anthropic, just did yesterday. It came out on the Deal Summit, the New York Times Deal Summit with Sorkin, Ross Sorkin. And it's just fascinating how much he hates Sam Altman. Like I had no idea. I know they were competitors, but he literally he was just like, well, there are some companies who prefer YOLO, but I like to be calm and collected. There are other companies, and Sorkin's just like, what other company? We all know what company you're talking about. They're like, he's like, I can't say the name, but whatever. It's just very in your face. Like he hates Sam Altman.
They're both
I know.
sketchy people. Honestly, I
Yeah,
think Dario's
yeah,
sketchy, Sam's
I agree.
sketchy.
I agree.
Honestly, Dario gives me like a little bit more of the heebie-jeebies. Like the other day when they like released like the whole stuff about the cyber, like like they said that they released a report about there was a
Right.
state-sponsored like thing, and it was kind of like debunked, kind of like they're playing the good guys with like the regulatory capture. Sam Altman's playing the other side of like it's crazy. I mean, Google's kind of just out there like, hey, you guys go like do this, and we're here
Right.
to eat your lunch. Like we're the big giant in the
Yeah.
room with a wave coming. You guys got to keep running, keep swimming, because this wave is coming. And I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely has said it before. Anthropic is this gives you this vibe of people taking themselves too seriously. I mean, just this comes down to like, it's like
Yeah,
they're the savior of humanity. I'm like, geez, get
totally,
over yourself.
totally.
But still,
And one of the
great models. Opus
for sure
4.5. I don't know if you get a chance, but amazing model. So
try Opus
they have
4.5.
figured out something about the RL training is figured out coding, and they're
Mm.
really leaning into that. So
You said that the design was good. I mean, I got it to produce some purple lucid icon design slop, and I was just like,
wait,
"Woo, this sick shit."
did you use Cloud Code though? Because Cloud Code still uses Sonnet 4.5. You gotta use the just the Claude regular
I was using
or Cursor, I guess.
Cursor.
Yeah, yeah. Super expensive. Like it blew through my budget in like a day, but yeah, it's good. Codex is good too. I would say OpenAI
Totally.
did respond, but it just takes so long. It's very fascinating that what OpenAI just it's like that meme. Look what they have to do to mimic a fraction of our power. Like the what do you call it, the show, the superhero show. I forgot its name. So good. It's because the Invincible. That's the show I was wrong, but it's because OpenAI will take so long to because they lean on the thinking and they'll
Mm-hmm.
spend so many tokens and just thinking it, and then it'll do the writing. But then Opus 4.5 just does it, without thinking too much. So
Right.
you're like, wow,
Totally.
what if like Opus 4.5 had the thinking of OpenAI? It's like with your powers combined.
Oh, for sure. And the last thing I know I want to just touch on right now is just because we're still on Google, and I saw this feature today about in Chrome. It was the split tab view,
What is
and
that?
it was really interesting. You know how like if you want to open two windows, you want to see two browser windows on the screen.
Right,
You open up a Chrome tab, you open up a Chrome instance, a window, and you
right,
have another window. You open up two windows, you put them side by side on your desktop. Right?
right,
That's what you do. I just saw today they released this thing was split Chrome tabs. So you can take one tab, click on it, right click on the tab, and say add tab to split view. So if you do this, I don't know if it's like rolled out fully, but maybe if you right click on the tab and then you click create split view, it'll actually keep one window, like one Chrome window, and split that one tab into two tabs. So you have like a split tab view. And it was really cool because I'm like, interesting. Now you're going to have one tab that's active in one Chrome window instance where you could see something on the left and see something on the right. And why is this important? Because you could really clearly see this laying the foundation to integrating Gemini within your tabs. And it's going to have like, it's not two windows where you have two Chrome instances, windows that don't have like connection to each
right,
other. It's literally you have one window open and the tab
right,
is split into two. And you can see on the right hand side, probably, you could just search the internet like normal, but like that will be where Gemini lives. If you want
right.
Gemini to live there, and you have your browse and you have your website on the left. And I'm like, they're just laying the foundation for this to come out very soon.
Wow,
So I
that's
think the agent browser is coming quicker than
that.
you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. So just to it's you don't have to toggle the tabs. You can see both tabs at the same time, but it's like half and half.
It's literally you have one tab open, but that
Right,
that one tab is split in half, where
right.
you have like two things.
And the initial side basically is the same side, but then you can, do stuff here and that doesn't change the other view,
Right, right, right. And I know from Chromium, like I don't know what the security that they did here. Like I hope they're isolating both of these tabs, but I know in the past what happens is like one tab is essentially one container where
hmm
like a website in one tab can't access the website in the other tab. And so hopefully the split tab is doing the same thing, but I could see it maybe they're figuring out a way where one tab can interact with the other tab through like some APIs or something where Gemini can interact with the website, or just like the tab itself, because you could see maybe Gemini can like use vision and interact with the DOM, and it doesn't share cookies, doesn't share scripts. Because that's the danger, is like when you start sharing
Right.
scripts, like you have cross-site request forgery, and you have like cross-site scripting and all these things.
Right.
But it's really cool. I was stoked to see this today. I was like, okay, Gemini's coming to browser very quick,
Yeah.
very soon.
No, yeah, I think you're going to see AI baked in, like, basically in every function. And the browser is like the most obvious entry point, where most
For
things
sure.
happen. So, which is why I've always been I've never been an ARC or a browser company. Like, I mean, I've never really tried it, in fairness, but I'm like, I know Chrome is just a feature Chrome is
Right.
gonna have actually.
Yeah, so yeah, that'd be sick. Well, I think on that note, ended on Google, talked about
Yeah,
Runway,
yeah,
talked about
yeah,
Foul, or
jam-packed episode. Like, lots of updates. We only touched on the video stuff and the spicy gossip, but other, lots of other new models came out, image models we didn't talk about, but quick Seedream 4.5 came out. Very good. There's a model where I'll just mention Zimage, which is very fast and very cheap. I think it's like the cheapest model out there. It's like, and Flux 2 came out as well, which is updated, Flux Dev and Flux Pro. Flux Nel, which is the cheapest model anymore, but the Flux 2 Dev is pretty cheap enough that I don't think they need Snell. And you can actually there's a new one called Flux 2 Flex, which actually lets you edit the number of inference steps and like even more granularly. So you can actually kind of create your own level of granularity in terms of quality you want. So very cool stuff. Lots of cool models out there. Check it out, on Foul or Replicate.
totally. Well, cool. A lot of stuff. And on that note, we'll see you all next week.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys. Bye.